part of our development program. Everybody bats. Everybody should always be looking to improve their batting, your own productivity, your own personal goals and ambitions as your own confidence grows, that I can score more runs. I want to bat higher. I want to bat for longer in the nets. I want to bat for longer on match day. I want to bat in big games, long forms. So Dave will conduct this. Thanks for your attendance. And these are the types of forums that we intend to have a lot more of to help you grow as a cricketer. Dave, thank you.
Thanks, Kim. And, good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving up your time. And we won't be dragging it out. We'll get through our business and let you get on your way. But tonight, helping me is Brooke Guest. Brooke's our first team captain. Come through the juniors, played all the state rep sides going through, as well as Australian underage 19s. And now earns his living as a professional cricketer, so we're going to make him work tonight and get a few ideas as well as demonstrate some of the stuff that's well past me. So I've started here with a quote from a guy called John Woody, and he was a very famous, you have to be probably old before you know who he is, back in the 60s at UCLA, basketball coach, and he made this comment: we want our players to learn, and the 4 laws of learning are explanation, demonstration, imitation and repetition. The goal is to create a correct habit that can be produced instinctively under great pressure. And to make sure this goal was achieved, I created 8 laws of learning: explanation, demonstration, imitation, repetition, repetition, repetition. And the only way you get good at things is by doing it over and over. I've got a little example there that talks about shoelaces, but I think we'll do that tonight. We did that the last time and it did have some effect. But we're in a generation that has more access to information than any before us. Again, without boring you, I'm 60. If I wanted to watch Ian Chappell bat, I had to get home at 4 o'clock on a school day afternoon for the ABC. We had a camera at one end, and hopefully he was in, and that was how you got to watch somebody play. Now you can watch any player in the world literally by getting on here and clicking. And we're going to use some of those tonight to try and illustrate some of the points that we may raise. So, batsman's job, score runs. Good technique does not equal runs. And I think maybe even sitting here, through whatever age group you played, you've gone, geez, they're really ordinary, and they just churn them out, and there's other people with $1 million in the nets, and you just can't figure out why they don't translate to big scores. And really the side of that is mental side of things. You can be different, but you have to be successful. Because if you're not, you will be on the scrap heap quicker than you can blink. So be careful at the advice that you get. Most advice is given in a well-meaning manner, and some advice is just annoying. And I'm sure you've all had it at different stages. And again, there's a conflict between what do we let players do, their own thing, versus teaching. And Brooke, we'll hop up and use you at this point. I watched a lot of YouTube footage, and you might have seen it when the Ashes were on. Steve Smith was interviewed in a break of play, and he commented he wouldn't change any kid's grip. I've seen Greg Chappell present at different times, and he's presented some of the similar sorts of thoughts: let people be natural and so on. So that's fine, but what if we pick the bat up, and you know the way I mentioned it before with the reverse grip, what if you pick up like that? What if someone, if you're a coach, we've got one laugh, we've got somebody, would you allow that? Would you say, okay, that's what you do? Okay, well, we've got someone out there who maybe has once upon a time had that grip. So, okay, do we go with that? Do we change them? Do we say, oh, we'll work with what we've got? I'm kind of thinking that you're probably changing that. And I'll give you a non-cricketing example. Again, in the years before conservation was an issue and things like that, I had a grade 6 and 7 teacher who taught us all how to write. You might go, big deal. We had to, and some of you have still gone through, you had to get a pen licence, you had to write properly. But the difference there into what it is in the 2016s and so was, whenever you didn't write properly, we'd write on little pads, he would pick the pad up, he would whack you over the head with the pad, you would tear the pad up, and you would go back to writing with a pencil. And eventually you got a number of whacks on the head, you got pads ripped up left, right and centre, and you actually got better. I'm not presenting that as anyone should be whacked over the head with anything in terms of your coaching. But, you know what? He showed us what he wanted, he made sure we did it, and my handwriting's okay. And probably some of the people that came through that class are pretty legible as well. But it's a matter of what do you let people do? I think there's a point where maybe you step in and provide some advice. We asked batsmen to score runs in order to move through the system. The system being, I'm looking at it, I guess, from a whacking when you enter at 13s and all the pressures that build up, score runs, get promoted and so on. So I think about this, and I understand maybe some of the girls don't play as long a form of cricket. If there's any younger players, you may not be in this, but if you have a strike rate of about 50%, means to get 100, you've got to face about 200 balls. And this is about 30 overs if you face every ball, so you need 60 overs to make 100. I know people accelerate and people score quickly and all those sorts of things, and I understand that players may not need up to that, but it could take you up to 4 hours to score a ton. So, what we end up with, in order to achieve this, we see players train 2 nights a week, and I know the really good players do more. And this equates to 10-minute hits. A batsman faces about 4 balls a minute, which is 80 balls over the week. This doesn't factor into your training specific shot development, quality of the bowling you're going to face. Even players with extra hits often do that with a mate. I saw a few blokes down tonight, which was terrific. But the trouble when you train with a mate is you've got to throw them some balls as well, which can be, that's kind of not what you're there for. You want your hit. So if you've got a coach or you've got a dad or someone who's happy to just throw them, you're probably a little bit better off. So, again, we're asking a lot with really not a lot of balls that we get of quality. And you think of the nets. You go in early, bloke doesn't land them for, or a person doesn't land them for a while, you're not getting that quality that you're looking for. So we ask a lot, how do we try and get something along there to be more successful? And I'll put here, before I get into it, enjoy your success. Cricket in itself is a very unforgiving game in terms of, grabbing 100 every 3 digs or whatever. A lot of us are doing a lot worse than that. So a lot of Saturdays, life doesn't go as you planned. You've got a long day sitting around. So the days that you get away and get some, you should genuinely enjoy that. So what will we talk about tonight? We'll talk about, from the technical side of things, a number of issues. And head, that's the first one. And the first thing that comes to mind there, the head is the most important thing. And the example that I was given many years ago was, if you take a photo, and again we now have iPhones and all the rest of it, if you move the camera, you get a blurred shot. It's as simple as that. If you move your head, you get a blurred vision in front of your ball. Equally, your head, we worry a lot about feet, we worry a lot, what's it? Basically, if we get Brooke to stand there, if I ask you to put your head well and truly forward, okay, and keep going, no, you're just going down like that. If you lean forward like that, what has to happen is that foot's got to go. He's got to, eventually, his foot's got to follow his head, otherwise you're flat on your face. So the head, to me, is the most important thing. We'll look at balance, grip, stance, the back lift, do we tap, or do we raise it, the old Graham Gooch style? Our back swings follow through, calling, running between wickets, our weight transference, what's a front foot shot, what back foot shots, and our hands, what role they've got in things. And then, game awareness, we'll look at routines, planning and constructing an innings. Again, Greg Chappell, heard him speak, he goes in tens. He goes, I score 10 tens, I've got 100. Simple as that. And whatever 10, and just couldn't wait to get out there. I said, oh, does that mean no less? They said, yeah, right, it's just minus 6. That changes from when you're 13 to sitting here, and there's one over. I really have to. Do I have to bat to someone else? So you try to be in the toilet when someone's looking for someone to go in, or generally somewhere that doesn't require you. And it tends to be the batsman, the guy batting 11 goes, yeah, I'll have a bat. And it probably brings in a few other things, like when you're chasing 10 runs in the second innings and your openers go out and one nicks up, and he's in counselling for a month after that because he's nicked up. Whereas the number 11 would go in and just smoke the first ball he gets and you're away. There's a few things there, I think, worthwhile thinking. Concentration, one ball at a time, again, and it probably links up to this fear of failure and ability to move on. Again, lots of players and people are driven by fear of not making runs. It's as much a relief when they get them as it is an excitement. And I think the good players are the ones that, when they miss out, they are disappointed and they don't say, yeah, whatever, but they move on quickly from failure. They don't let that failure of the day before dwell on it as they go to, oh, geez, I didn't get any yesterday. And again, if you're playing a lot of cricket, and Brooke, you're in this environment, you play a lot of cricket, when things are going well, it's great. What's the mentality of a professional cricketer when you're on, you're playing a lot of days during the week? What are your thoughts on that?
I think obviously playing opening, you play a lot of cricket, so you've got a lot of chances to score runs. So like you say, when you are in good form and scoring runs, everything just happens. You don't really think about it; it just happens. But I think obviously when you get in bad patches, I think over there it's not necessarily as bad as over here, because over here, especially in A grade and that, you could bat 1 week and then not bat for 4 weeks, so you're constantly thinking about that past innings. Whereas over there it's quite good because you can bounce back. Next innings you might have 3 ducks in a row or something, but next innings you might get 100 or something, so you've always got that chance to come back. But I think it's just about having that mentality of knowing that you're good enough, knowing that you can score runs, and backing your own ability, what you practice thousands and thousands of times.
Good, thank you. So some other things here, strengths and weaknesses. Really good players know the shots that they can play well, and the ones they don't play well, they are careful when they execute those shots. Again, then we get into visualisation. That's probably a whole other evening for discussion. Tension and relaxing. Again, any batsman, early days, you are tense, your hands, everything feels heavy, and then once you get a few off the middle, you're away and you relax and so on. And the last point I've got is getting set. The number of times you watch cricket on a Saturday, someone gets to 30, it's taken them over an hour and a bit to get there, and they're out. Those people are more culpable and worthy of blame than the bloke who nicks up second ball or in the first over. If you get in and you bat it for an hour and you don't make it count, then you've let your team down, you've let yourself down, because the next week, when you do get a really good ball in those first couple of overs, nobody cares about the hour that you've got 30. And you can't always convert to 100. What I'm saying is, you get in for an hour, you need to make it count. You need to kick on, and never rely on the person behind you. That's just, I think, something you need to get into your mind. So that's enough from me. At this point, I want to look at some video footage, and I'll move through some I'll stop and look at. So the first one, if I asked you a question, you can see De Villiers there, but the other batsman, who would be your favourite batsman over time that you've watched? You just shout out, I don't care. Favourite batsman? I know Tom, bad luck, you're nearly the front row. Can you give me one that you enjoy to watch? Ricky Ponting, we've got him tonight. Nick Mitchell, another one. Who?
Mike Hussey.
Mike Hussey? Nah, sorry Mike, not tonight. But anyone else? Jason? Steve Moy, he don't crack a neck shot. Any of the ladies down the back? Just give me one batsman.
Molly Healy.
I'll give you Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli. We're going to look at them tonight, and just some things. AB de Villiers. Anything that I've done tonight, I'll leave as a handout, and you can have a look at. But there's a couple of minutes of listening to de Villiers that I'll go on.
This is how I do it. Alright, so to get pretty technical, which I don't like to do normally, but it's important to get technical with the grip, because if your grip's not right, you're gonna have to be an exceptional player to succeed. So if you make a little V with your hand, with your thumb and your index finger, and you run it down the left side of this bat, you come up to more or less this angle here on the grip. That's where I like to have my view.
Okay, he's just about my favourite player. I'm confused already. To explain the grip to someone is actually, he's going, oh yeah, and you're down here and whatever. Brooke, can you give us the old, it comes up later, what's the way, probably most of you have been taught to grip the bat?
Obviously, put the bat on the ground and put your hands, create two V's with your hands and put your hands and pick up the bat. That's how most people get taught when they're young.
Exactly. Another way, for those that don't get to the ground as often, is just to rest to the bat there, put your hands over the bat naturally, we have our grip. Okay? Now, de Villiers' grip is a little bit different. Even Warner's, if you've watched him, his hands are a little apart on the bat. Smith's is even different still. So, one grip may not fit all, but we're teaching a basic and a principle from there. So let's see what else Sophie has to.
My left hand, alright? And same with my right hand. I put it pretty much in the same spot there. Really strong power in steering the ball wherever you want to. Your right hand is obviously the power hand. They talk often about the bottom hand, so this is the right hand for a right-handed batter. Also, I like to have the view in a similar kind of line, but with this hand, you only hold with the two fingers. Alright, so don't worry if you can't get all the fingers on. More often than not, you'll only have two fingers on the bat. Make sure it's nice and tight on there. And every now and then your fingers will get on, but it will happen naturally. Don't think about it. These two fingers are the most important. Get it on that line, on the same line as your left hand, and then once you feel comfortable, you're ready to go. I can think of some of my friends, a guy like Graham Smith was an incredible cricket player, but his grip was very strong on his left hand, which meant that he had a bit of a bend on his wrist and a very closed face. He still made it work because he's a very talented human being, but it sort of limited him in some of the shots, especially through the offside. Found it really difficult to open up his bat. Whereas if you have this strong grip, running down the left-hand side of the bat, you are open to play the ball wherever you want to. You can hit it through points, you can work it to the leg side, you can pretty much play it 360 degrees around the field.
So, that's our grip. Our next one is the trigger movement. And maybe if we go back to our grip and stance, the other one is some people have a preference, and it's neither here nor there. All I want to present to you tonight is ideas. What you choose to pick up on is up to you. But again, with your stance, some people like to tap behind their back foot, and others like to tap in between. Anyone, any thoughts as to why people choose one or the other?
Comfort.
Or comfort, yeah. But why do you tap in your middle? You tap in the middle, yeah. Any reason?
Probably because I've got a wider stance.
Yeah. It comes to the width of stance. Again, if you can take your low. If you've got a wide and you go back, it drops you down a little bit. Again, very much a personal preference. But the next one is the trigger movement. And when we look at de Villiers with the trigger movement and Kohli, and we compare them later on in the night to Tendulkar, there's a real difference. And again, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong, it's what gets you in the best frame of mind and to hit the ball. So let's have a look at Avery's thoughts on this.
Once again, there's no right and wrong. There's no such thing as your trigger movement can't ever work. As long as you get a few really important principles right in your trigger movement. I'll just try and really operate on that line, the most important parts of my body. Those are my knees, my feet, the hips, the head, shoulders, the heavy parts of your body need to be on that line, from the release point to your stumps. Never leave that line. The minute you go there or here, you're in trouble. You need to operate on that line the whole way. So you'll see my feet are always more or less shoulder width apart, because that's where I'm the strongest. And I try to be still. So those are the two most important points with the trigger movement, is to be really quiet and still at the point of release, and secondly, to have a really, really strong position. There's no use in standing with your feet next to each other where you can fall over, because you need to react after that. It's so important to have that base to react from. Alright, so the back and across, I've spoken about lines, and before I go out to bat, I'll try and practice a little bit shadow batting in the change room. I sort of picture a bowler bowling to me, I draw that line, and I'll just do a few back and across in that line. Alright, if the ball's full, obviously it's back and across, dead still, and it's one movement from there into your front foot shot. If the ball's short, we'll go back and across, there'll be a short trigger after that, and then rocking back onto your back foot. So it's a little bit complicated, but it happens naturally, you don't have to think about it. Alright, so it's back and across, if it's short, it's a little step and back. If it's not short, it's one movement. Alright, so that's all I think of, that's why the trigger movement is there, is to get a bit of rhythm, to make sure you're still when the bowler's releasing the ball.
Right. I'd just like to talk for a minute on whether you're a back foot player or a front foot player. If you are a front foot player predominantly, where does most of your weight start from to be that front foot player? Anyone, any thoughts? Forward. Yep. Anyone else? We don't get a choice. You're forward. If you're right-handed, your left foot or your right foot. Where do you think if you're a front foot player with your weight transference, where does it come from?
Back foot.
It comes from your back foot to your front. So you think to yourself, I'm a front foot player. I'm there, but you can't get to your front foot. And Brooke, maybe just demo that for us. You push off the back to get forward. If you're a back foot player, you're pushing off that front foot to come back. So just that transference, and you see it there with AB so he okay, so he now looks at his back swing.
To show you how I generate power with my backswing. On the backswing, I never used to think about this, but as I grew older, I realized there are a few things that work really well for me. So with my backswing, the basic position you want to get in is more or less there. I straight away think of a guy like Ricky Ponting, which is this big tap and then a massive back lift like that. So I try and get into that position, and I think most batters do. Some guys don't get it right, but then they lose a bit of power. So I try and get there, but I've got my own way of getting there. Each guy's got a different way of getting there. I like to point my bat to the first slip to get a bit of an angle in, because I used to have a problem taking the bat behind my back, and that's an absolute no-go, believe me. So I like to have the bat out a little bit towards first, second slip, and then come in nicely. See this wrist, nice and firm still. There's no bend on the wrist, which is very, very important.
Here's a different shot.
I've developed a bit of an error in my back.
This is interesting.
With my trigger, at the point of release, my bat was behind my back. So pointing towards fine leg almost. I just couldn't time the ball at all, which told me that this is not working for me. I need to get it out there in order for me to get back on the line and then play nice straight lines. It's really difficult when you're behind your back to get straight lines going. Everything's a little bit skewed. The bat's coming through across the ball. I found that I hit a lot of balls to mid-off where I wanted to hit them straight. Because it's coming around from the back, I try and correct it here and ended up hitting it to mid-off. So I'd rather have the error with too open of with the back pointing too far across to maybe point. That you can sort of deal with, but you can always come back into your plane. But when you're behind your back, it's really difficult to create power without getting back into play.
Okay. So Brooke, if I just get you to come over. With your stance, so just take a normal stance. Again, I think people make batting difficult. Because people will set up like that, and then all of a sudden, the bowler comes in, they go, or the bat comes up here or whatever. It's simply a back lift, that's it. You don't have to have arms going out here, and again, if you watch people and you videotape your teammates, there's a lot of weird stuff happening. Tap, back, that's it. There doesn't need to be a whole lot of Swiss type movements. So I want to go to I'll go one further. He also spoke about this bat coming behind his back, and I saw a little bit of footage of him where it looks like he is coming behind, and then again, because he's the guy that he is, he corrects at the last minute. But I think, again, lifting the bat straight over your off stump, to me, gives a lot of times people having to play across their pad. To first slip, even second slip, to me is a much more workable and gives a much sounder technique. So let's have a look. So, let's just watch. See? He wakes it up. So to me, that's coming around there. You watch it, and then he's into that position. See, I think he confounds what he says a little bit earlier, but then self-corrects himself. Anyway, that's all. And the last bit that I want to look about is he talks about a box theory, and he'll explain that. But I've heard people talk about the crease is their office space. It's where they own. And Ricky Ponting, I've heard him say he would visualise an A4 sheet of paper on a length, and as the bowler hit that A4 bit of paper in his mind, that was worthy of a lead or a defensive shot. If it was outside, then the ball was his. It's an interesting way to think about it. So here's his box theory.
Always talk about a little box that's around me. I don't want any part of my bat, feet, head, nothing to leave this box. Everything must happen in this box, because that's where I have all my power, right here in this box. Everything to be played right here. In golf, they talk about a compact golf swing. You've got to feel like you're almost swinging in a box, and it's the same with my batting. I like to feel that I'm really pushed into a box, and that I'm not allowed to leave this box. All right? I've got to play the ball within this box as well. The boxes will be different for every guy. For bigger guys, will obviously be a little bit bigger. For me, I don't like to take too big a strike, because when the ball swings in, it'll leave me on my pad. So my strides are normally a little bit smaller, and I draw this box right around me. So I want to play the ball in this box. My hands are not allowed to leave this box, because then I hit the ball in the air, and I'm a big candidate for a nick off then. Alright, so everything under your eyes, allow the ball to bounce and come into your box. And this is where you have all your power. This is where you can really, really cause havoc.
Okay, I think tied up with that in the box, I haven't mentioned much about it, are your hands. People get into trouble when their hands get away from their body. So all of a sudden you're chasing out here, keep your hands close to your body, it keeps you in that area, and the ball, you're getting it bowled at you. Okay. This next one I won't show. It's about Tendulkar coaching a young fella. It's on the sheet if you do want to have a look at. But this first bit here, I won't be showing the whole one of each one. Tendulkar facing, anyone know who the bowler is? Ex-South Perth player? Stuart McGill. Okay, so McGill bowling to Tendulkar. His bat's tapping, and then into his shot. So he's, and again, we'll just watch a couple of, not the best ball he's probably ever bowled. But even let's try and get that back a fraction. Tendulkar to the quicks, again, it's not a big high backslip. He's got just a short. All right. Now this is a cover drive of Tendulkar and also Virender Sehwag. And again, if anyone can remember, I don't remember the year, but it was a Boxing Day, and he absolutely tore Brett Lee apart for 190 in that Test match, and just a great player to watch. Maybe not textbook, but this is. I'll just play it. This is Tendulkar to start with. See how long the bowler is there. His bat's just coming off. That's his way, but I think it's. coming up about first slip, hands really close to his body. That's about as good as you get, and the shot, off it goes. Again, low. Okay, we're already in a very different world to what you saw a couple of seconds ago. But again, head very still, and that's where I'm saying head takes you to where you want to get to. Just a different way of doing things, but Tendulkar, very correct. And a little bit of footage.
I think I'm going to jump on my stump. I'm excited. It just looks
Okay, so again, that side on view, hands close, and again, pushing onto the front foot, off his back foot there. All right. So enough of section. This is a short, it's only a minute, but it's Ricky Ponting again doing a little bit of which is back to where Brooke was earlier in the night.
Next thing is to spread the hands out nice and evenly on the handle. And then we just straight and face it.
Oops.
And then we just straight and face it.
And again, you look at Ponting, it's just, for mine, nice and straight, nice and simple. Okay? All of them have a theme to them.
The second part of it is the neck, which is very, very important. Okay? We want to have our feet about shoulders apart. Okay? But most importantly, when we're facing the ball, we want to have our head and our eyes facing straight towards where the ball's coming from. Okay? And have our eyes nice and level. So we look down, we look up, and our eyes nice and level, and wait for the ball to come the ball. Last but not least, which is the most important part about it, is watching the ball. Right? We all say watch the ball, but you have to watch the ball as closely as possible. So when we get into our stance, we look up at the bowler. What I do is focus on the stance and the moment we start throwing it. So I'm just going to put my eyes on the ball all the time. Okay? Then when he lets it go, we decide whether we want to play forward or if we want to play back. Okay?
You don't have much for him there, but no, that's love. It's interesting there he talks about looking at the bowler, and Brooke, interested in your thoughts. Maxwell spoke the other day, you know when he made those runs against Sri Lanka and he was open head, he said he wanted both eyes looking down the wicket, which I think is, it sounds logical, but I think you can get into the point where you are lazy and you're looking out of one eye. I think it is something. Any thoughts on that, sort of the looking at the bowler or what you do with your setup?
Yeah, I think the main thing for me is having your eyes level.
Yeah.
Like Ponting said there. I think if you start to get into a habit of having your eyes off level, that's when people start to fall over and get into bad spots where they fall over, getting out ball over you. So I think that's the main thing for me is trying to keep as level as you can with the red.
Good, thank you. Alright, last one up is Verret Collie. And the reason I took this little bit of footage is, again, look, if you take stances, you're going to face a right-hand bowler out the middle. Again, you've got that front foot a little bit open, but your toes are pretty much level. Some players will have that front foot a little bit open at the front. Again, for mine, that's a matter of preference. What's the reason they do that? Why do people not have why do they take that, again, if you're a right-handed batsman, take that left foot a little bit that direction? Anyone, any thoughts?
Do not close themselves up.
Yep. And literally get their front pad blown off, normally. It's blokes that, again, if you're facing someone swinging the ball, again, you're right, closed off, not getting trapped, and getting hit on the pad on a regular basis. So this little bit of footage of Coley, and there's only a couple I want to use. He's got that little back and across. Seems side on. And this last one. So his back foot, back coming over first leg, back foot moves across a little bit, and placing himself in the box and out of the park. These boys can do that. Just a little bit, not a big deal in terms of that front foot. Okay. All right. What I'd like to go back to now, we've looked at the footage. I want to finish off with how do we train? How do we go about making value out of what we're doing? Firstly, yes, Kim.
Everything you've seen so far, so you've seen Ponting, De Villiers, and Cole. Clearly, I'm sure you'll all agree, they're just three of the greatest current, and probably be seen as some of the greatest ever. What we're talking about is a foundation, and everyone will adjust a little bit, or a lot. But how we want to coach you all is from a starting point, and then you will adjust as you feel.
Set my cross and do the other things you just demonstrate. So we've got 4 of these set properly, and again, footwork, working your way across, so hit, and then move across. Again, like that. It's very, very similar to house, but you know what? People don't do the little things well. So those sort of things, you can do that in standing start, you can work your way back. Use your feet, hit the ball off the tee. You know what? It's like golf. If you do that and don't hit it exactly where you want it, something's wrong. Somewhere in your technique. You should be able to do that sort of drill perfect. Throwdowns, again, always depends on the quality of the thrower. So, again, if one of your mates throws you and they use dog thrower, which is great, make sure they know how to use it properly. Get that out of it. Bowling machines, great, that's fine. Some people really can't move with bowling. They fall apart, they give you that volume that you're quite often looking for. And then iPhones, iPads, again, it used to be in the old days with big video camera and all the rest of it. If you're having in nest, I would be surprised when English does the phone. You might say, just take a couple of balls while I'm batting. You've got something immediately to have a look at and take home and assess from there. A mirror, somewhere down there may still be one. I'm the Euro coach here, they're mirror made up. Batsman, there's nothing in the game, no harm, stand in front of the mirror, get yourself sorted, because you need to know what you look like. People's perception of what they do and what they actually do can often be really, really different. Table tennis bat, this is from an old professional that used to be last year. He used to have a table tennis bat, one of those little Powerball type things. He just tap, 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 tap at different times during his waiting and going back. Just something to keep him occupied, get his eyes moving and so on. Again, drop balls over arm throws, game probably the thrower. But we spoke about, you hear how he faced that way, he had 1,000 balls this week. What about back, 20 balls like that. I'll have some just bouncing the ball. Again, you can have 30 or 40 balls like that, or I want a few pull shots just early. It's the same thing. But just have someone come in, throw a couple of half volleys, and then think that you go out and then make a run straight up. I just think it's too hard as a guaranteed method. To finish off, two things I want to show you. One is a batsman's net chart, and there's stuff up here you can take with you. So you might go, again, could be just your own method, you do coach or anything like that. You say, okay, I'm going to get about 30 balls this session. I'd like to know how many I let go, how many I play defensively, or I've got a plan in mind. First ball I get, I let it go. Second ball, defensive. Third one, a bit of an orange patch, and then work your way through. If you 30 balls, you've got a pattern. You might do that every night. You might do that twice before Christmas, twice after Christmas. Just something. The other one I'll show you is, I've watched, and it's not a criticism, I've met here or whatever, I've watched batsmen do the run-throughs before they go for a hit. I've had, on the slows a week, I reckon I could do some of the paces. They just sort of go through their method, I've got to do a 4, I've got to do a 3, and do a 2. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Again, probably, it's busy work, it's not actually productive. Here's something for you, you really want to put yourself under some pressure before you go to bat fatigue, and so on. This is a 1.5k exercise. So I would say, Rook, take a guard, okay? I'd yell cover drive, boom, and he will take off one, up the other end. He gets up the other end. Okay, and then I might go, take his stance again, cut shot, two, up and back, he runs hard, bat in the ground, look where he's hit it, comes back. So he does that stretch, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, and a 4, and there's a minute's break. And he does the next step, and he does the next step, and they're all there. If you've done that, you've done 1.5k run before you've gone into your hit. Yes, you will be tired. And I'll also say you did it every night, but you know what? Maybe you do it one night. Maybe you go, I've just batted the first 2 sessions, I'm going to bat after tea. And I'm going to be ready to bat after tea. That's an exercise that's worth the point. The whole thing is, it's just such a hard game, just to be good at, just because you want to be good at it, and just because you have a couple of bits a week. There's so much to do, but it's such a great game. When you've got one of those days out, so it's all working for you. So if you are thinking, if you're going to put yourself through 6 hours on Saturday, and your team's batting, and you're watching 5.5 hours out of it, it kind of doesn't seem much point. Brooke, getting a finish and then we're done. Just as general, your all good? All right. So thank you very much for your time. I'll just hand over to Kim and
One of the things too is that what Dave's been here, everyone practice to do with tick about that. That expression practice makes perfect. It has a very expression practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. Doesn't work if you're not practicing perfect. So with all your batting skill development, you must learn your technique. Practice correct execution, correct technique. Because if you are rehearsing and practicing incorrectly, you may make a habit of poor execution or shot. So you must practice perfectly. And the more simple drills, so balls in front of you, underarms, the more technically correct you must practice to make that a habit. So then you can execute that under the pressure of opposition. And the more attacking, more aggressive, faster, bigger spinning that you play against, the more chance you are likely to play it correctly when you're trying to score runs. Practice makes perfect, doesn't work if you're not practicing correctly, practicing perfectly. So learn your stance and eyes and balance which suits you. Learn your executions for all your shots. Practice. Inside the box, be prepared to let a lot go. The longer the format of game that you play, the more shit your team's in, the more you will let go to survive, because you can't make runs if you haven't survived. So perfect practice is what you must practice. So when you're working in pairs or you're training or you're with a coach, you learn how to practice perfectly and you'll be more likely to execute perfectly under pressure. Did you want to conclude?
Oh, that's a good way to finish. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Noe, for getting the technology together for this evening.
Any
Thanks,
questions?
Brooke.
Anyone
Any questions?
from the floor at all? Anyone? Is it just chat amongst yourselves, or if someone wants to ask a question? Come on, I think someone wants to ask something. Now's your chance. Well, you can come back next week. We're going to do it with the juniors again next week if you like.
All right, we're done. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for your attention.